Now, Business Unity South Africa is scratching its head over government's plan to establish a state bank at a time when many SOEs are in severe trouble. Busa says President Cyril Ramaphosa needs urgently to address structural challenges within the economy. And for more analysis on that story, the organization's response to the State of the Nation address, we're joined now by Busa CEO Cas Coovadia, and that's via our Skype line. Cas, thanks as always for your time. I mean, daily updates on load shedding, that's now become a regular part of my job as well. One gets the sense that there is a level of frustration in the country, hardly the time at this week's SONA to announce yet another SOE.
Yeah, we were a bit surprised about that, although the idea of a state bank has been on the agenda for quite some time. We have indicated that if the government wants to establish a state bank, that is their prerogative, but there are a couple of issues related to that. One, it needs to be appropriately regulated, and there needs to be a level playing field between other banks and a state bank. Two, I'm not yet convinced that I understand what a state bank is going to do that a commercial bank can't do with some collaboration from government. Because at the end of the day, when you cut through the complexities of banking is about taking people's deposits, gearing them, and then lending the money in a responsible way and in a way that the money gets paid back. State bank has to operate the same way. If a state bank lends money that there's no possibility or very little chance of being repaid, then it means that the fiscus would have to bail the bank out. We can't afford that. We don't want that. That's not the right thing to do. So yeah, the President said that the Minister of Finance will give more detail in his budget speech, and we wait for that.
I mean, Cas, in some of the interviews that you've done as Busa in the run-up to the State of the Nation address, and we've been talking about it for months as well, it does feel that we are a country that is in crisis. We as South Africans, we can feel it. The people we speak to on the ground, it's clear that they can feel it as well. We just look at the number of young people that are unemployed in South Africa to get that sense of a crisis. Do you reckon that this State of the Nation address this week, the tone addressed exactly that?
Well, I think for the first time, I think the President did acknowledge the crisis. I think he did say that this SONA is all about inclusive growth, and he acknowledged that the central issue for this country is growth. And I think that was different, and we welcome that. I think he acknowledged that the economy needs some serious structural reform. What we would want to see is what sort of reform and timeline related to that. I think he also spent quite a lot of time saying that the integrated resource plan will now be given effect to, and the Minister of Minerals and Resources will enable the next phase of renewables, will enable self-generation at scale and enable some of that to be put onto the grid. And now I think what the SONA was light on is timeframes, and we want to now see the timeframes. I think we welcome the President saying that he will, within a month, make public performance agreements with ministers so that we can see them and we can also, as constituencies and members of the public, hold ministers to account. So what we want to see now is timeframes, deadlines, responsibilities, accountability, and an urgency to actually deal with these issues. Because we don't have time for processes, we don't have time for summits, we don't have time for trying to reach consensus across a whole range of stakeholders to actually begin to take decisions. The President and his cabinet need to be decisive. The decisions need to create the environment for investment and growth, and that's what we need in our country now.
And Cas, that's what it's all about, investment and growth. If we're going to see any kind of dent in those jobs numbers, you know, we normally describe the State of the Nation address as the bare bones. Do you reckon we'll see more of the meat, maybe the deadlines as well, come the Finance Minister's budget speech?
We hope so. We hope that we see more in the budget speech. We hope that in the performance contracts that the President will make public, there's clear deliverables with time frames for the ministers and the departments. And quite honestly, if within the next month or two we don't see that sort of detail with time frames, with performance contracts, with clear lines of accountability, then I think that some of the good in the SONA will have fallen flat.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks very much, as always, for your input. That's Cas Coovadia via our Skype line. He is from Business Unity, South Africa, as we continue to unpack the State of the Nation address from this past week.